coming off a 1-1 weekend against number seven Maine. Fell to Maine Friday night, 5-3. Came back, shut them out 2-0 on Saturday. Want to get your thoughts heading into a big weekend series against another ranked Hockey East opponent in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's it just I think speaks to the difficulty of our league when you're just going from one ranked opponent to the next. I thought we played pretty well against Maine for 5 periods. We kept that team scoreless. We had a kind of a meltdown Friday in the third period, but bounced back Saturday, and now we're taking on a very strong New Hampshire team. They have a freshman there, Ryan Conmey, who's leading their team in scoring. They're getting great goaltending from Helston. Mike's done an excellent job building that team. So it's going to be quite the test for us Friday at Toscano, and then definitely back up at the Wit on Sunday.
Awesome. All right, we'll open up for questions. Joe, you want to start us off?
Thanks, Todd. Morning, Cav.
Good morning, Joe.
Obviously, for our Genny to come off the pine after 2 months, get a shutout, get Hockey East goalie of the week is pretty special. What did he do during those 2 months to kind of fix what might have been wrong?
He kept sticking with, Vince Stiletti does a great job with our goaltenders, and it happens sometimes with goaltenders. They go through some slumps. So I think he just worked on some details of his game, some fundamentals of setting his feet and not sliding and drifting. And, he did that very, very well on Saturday afternoon.
And how did Jake Valou come out of his first full game of the year?
Yeah, he came out fine. He played a lot of minutes for us, did a great job, and he's been strong again this week in practice.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dan, we'll head over to you.
Just as Mike is one of your former assistants, what's it been like to see him finally have this breakout season that I'm sure he's been pushing for in the 5 years that he's been at UNH, or in charge at UNH? 6 years?
Yeah, I'm happy for him, and it doesn't surprise me. He's a great hockey mind. He was an excellent player at UNH. Terrific work ethic as a coach. When I had him here, he was awesome, because it was the first 2 years we were starting the program and building the program, and it wasn't easy. And he did a great job for me. And certainly, we've stayed in touch and we talk frequently. And I'm really happy that, he's turned that program around.
You play him every year, so you've seen this progression, but what is it about this year's UNH team that you've seen on film, at least, that's really allowed them to take that leap?
Yeah, I thought they were starting to turn the corner last year. I mean, we went up there last year and had our hands full with them. We lost an overtime game, and I think they got an empty netter the first night. So they swept us up at UNH last year, and then we played pretty well against them back here at Toscano. But I just think he's slowly starting to get type of player he wants in there. They play fast, they're quick, and he's getting great goaltending this year. The transfer from North Dakota stepped in. I think he's got an under 2 goals against, and has really solidified that position for him.
Was there anything when he was at UConn that really made you feel like this guy's a future head coach and a guy that's going to be a good head coach somewhere?
Well, he always had a great presence about him. And he's an excellent power play coach. Their power play is always strong. And again, I think they're 23% or 22% this year. So I knew eventually that, it's not easy. The one thing, I had almost 20 years of experience as an assistant. I think he had 2 at Brown and 2 with me, and then maybe 2 or 3 at New Hampshire before he was thrust into the head coaching position. So And I think he'll tell you, you learn quite a bit. You think you know a lot, going in, and you think you can handle a position. And then all of a sudden there's little intricacies and nuances throughout the day, the week, the year that you really didn't account for. And you have to sometimes learn on the fly. And I think now that he's been able to, I think probably wrap his head around all of that, he's now focusing on being the great coach that he is.
Tyler, we'll head over to you.
Hey, Coach. Sorry I haven't chimed in a while, but thanks for having us.
Sure, Tyler.
Wanted to ask about just the travel schedule this week, Friday, Sunday. Are you staying anywhere between games or just going up Sunday?
Yeah, we'll stay in Portsmouth on Saturday. If it was a 7:00 game, which I'm glad it's not on a Sunday, but we might have just drove up that day. It's right on the cusp of like 2:15. That's close whether you stay or not. But because it's a 4:00 game, Saturday we'll practice here at UConn and then drive up.
Right. And then want to ask about Hudson Shandor, such a breakout year for him last season. I think he's got goals in 2 straight games now. Are just teams dialing in on him more defensively, or what have you seen from him this year?
No, I think he's been playing pretty well, and was happy. He has been starting to score some goals. Pucks weren't going in for him, and it wasn't hit. He wasn't alone. It was a lot of our team were struggling to score goals, but he does so many things well in so many different areas and all 3 zones that he's definitely an invaluable piece of our team.
Last one, a question is about Joey Muldowney. What have you seen from his development this year?
He really started to come the last few weeks of the first half, and he's picked up right where he left off. He's been, that line played against the NATO line pretty much all week last week and did an outstanding job against them. And now he's starting to score some goals as well. So I think that confidence, he is a goal scorer. He skates extremely well. He competes. He's only going to go get better here.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Laura, we'll head over to you.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to follow up on Tyler's question about Hudson. You said he was, one of many players who was a little bit snake bit in the first half. Him being such a big leader on your team, how was he able to sort of show the way for some of the younger guys and how he was able to handle that?
Well, he doesn't get frustrated like some kids might. Some kids actively show their frustration, and that's not always helpful or positive within the team. But Hudson's a real pro, and he just, if he's not scoring, then he's going to win faceoffs. And if he's struggling on the faceoff dot, then he's going to defensively play great. Like he can affect the game in so many different areas that he just understands that he needs to keep getting chances and not cheat the game, and he will get rewarded at some point.
Did you see that rub off at all on any of the other guys?
I think some, it's there's a reason why he was elected captain, because, I think the kids totally respect him and watch how he carries himself on and off the ice. So I'm hoping it does. Yeah, for sure.
I also wanted to ask about Friday's game, specifically that third period. What lessons do you hope the team took away from the minutes?
Well, I think we learned on Saturday. We had a very similar situation, 2-0 lead early in the third period. And Saturday, we didn't take penalties. We didn't turn the puck over. We were really sound in our own zone, and we're able to close out the game. So I think we learned an awful lot from Friday's game going into Saturday.
And then just last one for me, I wanted to ask about Matthew Wood. I know some players, when they come back from World Juniors, sometimes they have an extra little pep in their step. I'm just curious. I know Matthew Wood has always been playing well for you guys, but have you seen anything different from him since coming back?
Not really. I think it was a great experience for him, as it is for any kid that goes to, the World Juniors. But I can't say I specifically see anything differently with him as a player. So we just need him to, keep contributing and keep getting pucks. Like he had some great chances last weekend that he wasn't able to capitalize on, and hopefully this weekend he can.
Johnny, we'll head over to you.
That actually kind of changed my next question. Good to see you again, Coach. But I was wondering if just like the fun stuff, if any of the guys have kind of given Wood crap since the U.S. won the World Junior. I know that could be always a fun locker room banter kind of thing.
Not as much, I don't think. Who'd they lose to? Canada. I can't remember. It was Finland.
By Czechia, I believe.
Oh, Czech. Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah, it was more Samu on our team with the Finland. Was the one chirping, but no, the kids didn't give him a hard time. We got a lot of Canadians in the team, so he's not alone. They wouldn't be chirping just him.
Okay. And then I had a question about Chase Bradley. He's been super impressive. He does a lot of everything, but I guess, how important is he for the team? I know, Wood gets a lot of the attention, but Bradley obviously is super effective as well.
Oh, he's leading our team in scoring right now. He's a physical force when he's on the ice. He's invaluable, penalty killer, power play guy. So, and he's another one that really leads by example. So, great kid on and off the ice. We're lucky to have him. That's for sure.
That's all I got for now. I definitely will have one or two more probably as we keep going. But thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Dan, go ahead.
Since we're talking a lot about Hudson, how's he doing? Are we going to see him this weekend?
I hope so. We that hasn't been determined yet. So I can't say definitely one way or the other on him or Flynn. So I think those are going to be more Friday decisions. I'm not trying to be coy. They just haven't practiced yet. They skated a little bit today. We had a morning skate and they skated a little bit today, but I think tomorrow will tell more how they go through practice.
Is there anyone else that's dealing with anything that might be questionable for the weekend?
As of right now, no.
Andrew, we'll jump over to you.
Hey, Cav. There were 4 2-game series last week in Hockey East. All 4 were splits, including yourselves, of course. And I'm just wondering, do you think that might be how it's kind of going to play out the rest of the year, that it's going to be a real slog? It's going to be tough for teams to come up with 2 wins in a weekend?
I hope not for us, but yeah, it's a tough league. Like when I look at our league play, we have New Hampshire, who's a top, whatever they are, 15 team. Then we're followed with Providence, who's a top 15, 10 team. And then UMass, who's a top ranked team. And then BU. I mean, that's just the way the league is. And I think the only way to manage that is just to try to, it's a cliche, Andrew, but it's really the only way to manage it without getting overwhelmed and anxious is just to focus on Friday night's game. Because if you start looking at it that way, it's like, oh my God, how are we going to get through this gauntlet? But that's what makes the league great. And that's why you see so many teams highly ranked, is because 1, the league's winning a lot of non-league games, and 2, there's a lot of splits because teams are really good and it's hard to get a sweep on a weekend.
Carson, we'll head over to you. Oh, we might have lost.
Piece of it.
Yeah, that's a tricky balance, Carson. You certainly don't want to schedule yourself out of the NCAA tournament.
Right.
And sometimes that can happen if you have a monster non-league schedule. But the same token, I think what's made it, really tough for us in the East here was years ago, the Atlantic Hockey League wasn't what it is today. They half the teams didn't even have scholarships. Now they all have scholarships. It's a very, very good league. It's not an upset anymore when an Atlantic Hockey League team beats a Hockey East team. It's they're very, very good teams. I think COVID had something to do with it. We'll probably see a shift now, but a lot of us, kind of had a mandate not to travel too far because athletic departments took a major financial, hit during COVID. So it was like, let's take a lot of bus trips, and try to avoid plane trips. But I know that our non-league schedule, we have the Connecticut tournament, which is always a great tournament. If we can schedule another tournament, those are fun. I think those are really help prepare you later on when you play a tournament style, 2 games. I'd like to take one trip. Like this year, we didn't have a Big Ten or a Western team on our schedule, but we normally like to have 2 games with a Big Ten or a Western team. That gets tricky too, because sometimes they don't want to reciprocate, but but that's kind of how you like to play it, and then some local teams. So,
Right.
But it's not like a local team, like I said, there's no sure win.
Right. No, absolutely. On the Connecticut tournament, just on that topic, obviously it's Beanpot's right around the corner. Is there kind of an initiative to build that up and kind of get some more, just with the strength of Connecticut hockey? Sacred Heart just built a rink, Quinnipiac win a national championship. There's just a lot of momentum to try and build that tournament up to kind of the.
I've been championing for it, lobbying to have this tournament for a long time. We finally got it off the ground. I think the next step is, it perennially has to be at the XL Center. We had 9,500 people at our game last week. There's no reason why we couldn't have 9,000, 10,000 people at the Connecticut tournament year in and year out. It's no longer our home rink. So I know that there was some people maybe objected to the fact that it would be a home game for us. It's not really the case anymore. The Toscano's our home rink, and we'll play a couple of games a year down the XL, but it's not what we call home. We don't practice there. We just go in and play a couple of games. So I just think it makes the most sense. If we want to grow the tournament, to the levels of where the Beanpot is, then it has to be at the XL Center. It has to be in a venue where you can get 10,000 people. You can't have it on campus where there's 3,000 or 4,000 people. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if everybody else thinks the same way I do, but I think if the tournament wants to grow and become on par with the Beanpot, it has to be played at the XL Center every year.
Sure. Last one is, how would you evaluate your power play up until this point of the season? And is it just kind of constantly changing?
Yeah, it's been average, Carson. And it's an area that, I've been pretty happy with the way we've played defensively. Offensively of late, we've really started to pick it up. The one area where I think in the next 6 weeks that we have to continue to improve and get better if we want to make a long stretch run is both special teams. Our penalty kills fallen off a little bit. It was about 90% at one point, and I think we're in the low 80s now. And our power play has gotten better, but it's not where I want it for sure.
Yeah, special teams, they're huge. Thanks. Looking forward to seeing you.
Okay, Carson, same here.
Dan, we'll head over to you.
To ask you something I'm sure you haven't been asked much in the last year. It's been just past 1 year that you played your first game at Toscano. So just if you could reflect on what it's been like the past year, having this new home, and just your experience being in that facility.
It's been fantastic. Like anything else, there's certain things where you're like, oh, I wish we did this. I wish we did that. But it's like minor stuff. It's not like the lounge and the locker room setup. The players area is dynamite. Like what they have, their daily interaction with this building is, I think, second to none in the country. They have everything they need and want, and it flows effortlessly for them. you know, as far as the fan experience, I think we probably could have done some things a little bit differently, but that's probably true in every building. You know, I remember when I was at BC, they didn't put air conditioning in that building when they first built it, you know, and there was a couple of games we couldn't even play there because of the fog. Then eventually they rectified that situation. So there are some things that will change and make the better facility, but overall, I feel like I've been here 10 years, even though I haven't. It's just become second nature now, walking in here, and it's been awesome.
What are some of those things, improvements that you want to see?
You know, there's a couple areas where I don't think the sight lines are great for. You know, there's a few seats by that student deck that are probably blocked that, you know, we didn't think about. We don't have a press room, Dan. You know, we didn't. We're holding press conferences in my office, so certain things like that we probably. And like I said, they're minor. They don't affect the players, which is the most important thing. Those are just two off the top of my head that we probably could, you know, fix. But I haven't met anybody that comes up here and their first impression when they see the building is there's a wow factor when you walk in this building.
Would have thought that no press room would have been a plus for you because now you get to feel like an old baseball manager.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Then
with the beer fridge right to my right, the whole thing, right? Yeah.
Then one of your down the hall, Mac, just became the winningest coach in program history. You guys came in at the same time. How have you seen him grow and the program grow under him?
Yeah. Congratulations to Chris. I just heard that myself. I think it's been great. You know, I think we were both drinking from a fire hose the first couple of years when we got here. Carson can attest to that. She was here for some of that. And you're playing out of the Freitas, and it was just a challenge, you know, but now we've certainly collaborated more. Our offices are so close right now, and his staff has been, you know, he's had Casey with him for a long time, and they have a lot of continuity, and I think they found their rhythm in recruiting, and they've done just an awesome job. And I think it's, you know, terrific that they're battling for first place in the league.
All right, we got time for one or two more. So Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a quick one about Toscano. I know Dan asked you, you know, what are some improvements you could still see be made, but what are some of the things where you're like, wow, I'm so glad that we did it like this, or this is, you know, such a cool thing that we have?
Yeah, I love the way we did the locker room, how it, you know, the lounge flows through the dry area into the locker room. I think that's very efficient. I like the fact that our weight room and training room are steps from the locker room. You know, kids are going to do hydrotherapy. It's right there. I think that setup is excellent. The club lounge, it's not just a area for, you know, donors and high-end tickets. It doubles as a room that we can have pregame meal in or host different functions in. I think that came out really, you know, excellent. You know, it's a really nice feature of this building. I think, you know, for most of the fans, 95% of the fans, the sight lines are great. It's a very steep, you know, pitch to the seats, so everybody has a pretty good seat, and it's loud on game night. You know, it's creates a very loud atmosphere. So those are some of the things I think we did really well.